Thank you all for joining us today, because today we have a fantastic guest. First of all, it's the first guest that we have that actually speaks English. We have Adam Leonardi here today with us from Strata Homes from the UK. And today we are in for an absolute treat, simply because Strata is a company that didn't need to use the Unreal Engine, but decided that the Unreal Engine is the way forward. It's a real estate company first, so very different from a lot of the people that are currently in the chat. As you can see, Manolis is next to me. Manolis seems today to be the more active person in the chat than I am, which is a nice role reversal. Everyone, of course, knows Manolis, co-founder and head of Unreal and head of everything.
The same.
Manolis is the person that you talk to whenever you get stuck with your Unreal Engine applications while you are using ARCWARE, and someone behind a lot of the things that we do, and half of at least the raison d'etre of all things ARCWARE. So today we do things the same way we always do them, which means you write us in the chat. I will interrupt Adam whenever that makes sense. Otherwise, I will save all of your questions to the end. As always, feel free to say and question anything or ask any questions that you would like. The more interactive that we make today's webinar, the more value it adds for everyone. Aha, yes.
Yeah. There we have another comment.
Look at this. We have a different setup than we usually have, as you might have seen. Manolis
Doesn't matter. Let's go.
Missed this. Let's go indeed. So you guys write us in the chat. We have a Q&A at the end, and Adam has promised to do an absolute first, to achieve an absolute first in the ARCWARE webinar universe, which is to be short and direct and actually keep his presentation to 30 minutes. And so, as we already started a little later than usual, I'm now going to give Adam the stage, and then this is how we get started. So Adam, best of luck. Take it over. Take the wheel.
Thank you, Dirk. Appreciate that. And Manolis and everybody here today. Thanks for having me. Sorry I couldn't be there with you in person, but we really appreciate you inviting me on to the ARCWARE Spotlight this afternoon. So just to introduce myself again, I'm Adam Leonardi, and I lead digital innovation and visualization at Strata Homes. Now, like how Dirk has already mentioned, I wanted to give a quick rundown today on who we are and what we do before going on and explaining where I started, what influenced me on what we have today, and the future on where we want it to go. So Strata Homes is a family-run housing developer. We've been building homes for well over 100 years. We're regional. We're based in Yorkshire, Doncaster, United Kingdom. So we're not a gaming studio or an app creator or a visualization studio. So we build homes, and our output is community. So really different, like Dirk mentioned. We're coming at this from a different angle to what you guys might be used to seeing on ARCWARE Spotlight, or in general with users of Unreal. So before I go into detail about HomeFinder and the apps I've launched for Strata, I wanted to give you guys a bit more of a personal approach to my experience and background, to where I've come from, what's influenced me on my journey, and how I brought that with me to Strata. So my first career-defining role was a large architectural studio up in the East Midlands. It was called Benoit, and I was working there as a junior architectural visualizer. So I was 19 at the time. I didn't know much about architecture, but I had enough of a 3D portfolio to get me that role. And there was a variety of high-profile projects that I worked on. My first project was actually the Ferrari Island in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, so things like Ferrari Island, the Manchester Airport Terminal, Heathrow expansion bid, and everything in between. So it was an exciting environment for me in terms of design and variety. But what it also allowed me to do was build a team of visualizers with their own expertise, and one of them primarily focused in Unreal. So with Jamie's expertise, we were able to prototype. So we built some amazing tools within UE to visualize these architectural designs. So we utilized VR to move around the spaces. we built features for testing the designs, whether that was changing retail facades, changing the time of day, adding in a tape measure to work out distances, or quickly cycle artwork on the walls whilst walking around the space in real time. It was such an immensely powerful engine, and it was a turning point for me to realize what Unreal can do. But it was some time before I used Unreal at Strata. So in the early days, I was working with the head of design, part of the R&D teams, producing new product ranges. I helped visualize and improve design workflows. So we introduced VR, working with new products at human scale. So seeing those designs, real proposed levels and context with other products. And although that is nothing new to you guys or as a technology, it was new to Strata, and dare I say, a lot of the building industry. It can take time for technology to filter.
That will all happen organically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I was doing all the other things, day-to-day content, such as renders, diagrams, and sections. But what I was also doing was working with outsourced studios to produce the marketing material for our developments. So what's just popped up here is it's quite a nice looking fly-through, considering it's time of it when it was used, and the style of it's quite nice. But the problem was it was just a fly-through. You couldn't stop and interact with the objects. You just had to pause it and pray that you had a plot that your customer was interested in. Otherwise, you actually had very limited information for a sales experience manager. So it was extremely expensive to produce these. They needed to be checked constantly for errors. You know, all the operational information that you send over, you just hope that they interpret it correctly. So it took a lot of information. It took a long time for not much information for each plot. So that's where I wanted to internalize the visualization process for at least just one project. So I produced plot-specific content for all of our private for sale homes for one development. So this is Finesse in Leeds, and it was a relatively small site with just 50 or so plots. But what it allowed me to do was produce better quality information for our customers. It was, however, time consuming, and it was using traditional visualization techniques. So you're familiar in ArchViz with Max and Vero post-production. That was the standard back then, and that's what I used, but it just wasn't going to be good enough going forward. So I wanted to offer that for more of our developments, and we could only do that by expanding the team. So we hired, which was the first time we could say Strata had a standalone internal visualization department, and we started outputting more content. However, after a couple of projects, we wanted to speed up and automate this process to scale to our entire development schedule. For the year, we needed to try something different. So for me, this was probably the scariest transition, moving away from a purely static process into a more fluid and real-time one. So enter Unreal, we needed to change to meet the demand of the business. We simply couldn't produce this quality content with the current method. Now I have to admit, we didn't move right away into real time. It was a long game approach to move us into the UE ecosystem, migrating assets over to UE, locating and optimizing other elements such as foliage, props that work for us, and generating standards that everyone was happy with. Being completely honest, I don't think at the time visually it was an improvement, but what it offered. Go on, Doug.
I thought we were muted. That's why I was very, very silent. So I would like to. AK3D asks what it means to be what you mean with back then. He asks if that was 2015 or was it more recent?
Yeah, so it was around 2016, 2017. That's when 2017 is when I joining Strata. So yeah, Max and V-Ray, I mean, it's quick and it produces quality results. And it's great for a set of visuals. But then when you're trying to produce plot-specific images for 50 plots, so let's say you've got a front, a back, a street view, an aerial view, times that by 50, you've all of a sudden got over 150 images. And then on our larger sites, like I say, 50 it's quite a small site for us. that can run up into the thousands. So yeah, that standard pipeline then, it just wasn't going to scale nicely, not in a way that I would have preferred. So yeah, just going back to this then, when we moved to Unreal, we worked with an Unreal consultant, and we created what we called internally as a toolkit. So we combined ArchViz tools to help us in putting these developments in quicker than ever before. So we automated materials from a spreadsheet. So if you had to change because of the planning amendment, we could do this quickly to lots of plots. So that was nice. We could automate all the renders to queue without continually messing around in external queuing programs such as Backburner or Deadline. Produce different times of day renders controlled by 3 separate lighting levels. So but you can see here that we have these renders layered on top of each other. So it slowly moves from day to afternoon to evening. It just adds a little bit of extra information for the customer. We could output the correct name and description without user input, which is important, especially like I mentioned just a minute ago about when you're exporting 5 or 6 images a plot on a development, it can easily add up to thousands of images. So we could render that at 4K overnight with one recent workstation. So for us, even though it was a small step into Unreal, it was game changing for us, and I believe this gave us more quality information for our sales team, and more importantly, to inform our customers than trying to manually produce that content with previous mediums and methods. So picture all that going on. We hired another visualizer, and so we expanded the team to 3 now, and we just transitioned from Max Theory to Max Unreal. So Peter Smith, those are just panels. So this wasn't real time at this point. We'd moved the process into Unreal, but right now this was still static. We were just getting all the models and assets ready. It was quite a jump for us, especially with having our ArchViz hats on. It was quite scary, but I'll show something in a second. And
but it looks great. Night day transition, I think it's amazing.
And time was great. I think ray tracing was just becoming a thing with shadows, and it's starting to look a bit nicer. But let me just skip ahead.
Yes,
so
and
yeah.
just to interrupt again, I am dreadful, I know. Adam, I will be taking care of the chat. I will make sure that the questions they will get answered. I am here to, I am the ambassador of the audience. So you just focus on your story, and I will just weave in their questions at the right time. But because as I'm interrupting anyway, I'm destroying your flow. Are currently all of the questions answered, dear audience? I saw that AK3D asked if something happened overnight, if it was a person, just one person or a team. And you answered Peter's question, I believe, so that is sorted. Okay, good. Good, all right, so it seems all questions are answered. So then please feel free to continue, Adam.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's a bit of a sidetrack, but when I first started working for Strata, I was asked to be part of what was called a configurator project. It had been going on for some time, and it had its own team already. And we were working with a visualization studio who were developing it for us. So the aim was to give our customers and sales team the tools to be able to visualize any one of our house type interiors, mainly the bedroom, bathroom or kitchen, and to be able to swap out and those main design elements such as tiles, worktops, kitchen doors, flooring, that kind of thing. Now I was brought in to keep an eye on the quality of the outputs, and from an early on stage I could tell this was going to be a bit of a challenge, mainly because of the method that was being used. So these visuals in the presentation, they look great as they are right now, but it was a static configurator. So that means that these views are just images, and they're rendered on multiple layers. So each element, each of those wall sections, the worktops, the doors, have their own layers, and stacked up on that are different materials. So if the customer changed to a dark surface, the issue is because the rest of the surrounding area hasn't been rendered with that in mind. You get incorrect color bleeds, GI is all wrong, the reflections don't look correct, and it can look a bit artificial. So it's great as a standalone piece, but it had some other issues as well, such as the loading times and, like I mentioned, the complete lack of interactivity. But actually, it was a bit of a soul-searching project for us, because that wasn't actually the problem with it. It was us. We didn't have the specification in one place to create such a project in the first place. So the data wasn't there. So we spent a long time understanding and wrapping our heads around that. And all in all, it didn't complete the way we wanted. So it was a bit of a failure, if I'm being completely honest. You've got to be honest about these things, because not everything is this perfect, simple flow that comes out, you know, with a great product. So
that's also completely fine. I mean, really, everyone's journey starts somewhere, and I think that, you know, going through all of these different technologies, going through all of these different projects, that is how you really you're finally confronted with the choices that you didn't know you had to make, and therefore you now know, oh, because of the, you know, switching something to dark, then moving it to, and then the rest not being prepared for that. I think that just really shows that, you know, that's just part of your journey as, you know, going from, obviously I'm oversimplifying here, but like an enthusiast who's just super excited to take any opportunity, to someone who is ready to take on any challenge.
Yeah, no, and we learned from it. So we organized and formatted our data. We simplified the rules. We just made things much easier to manage, and we were in a better position to try again. But before we did that, I'm just going to take you on one last tangent. So just put a pin on that for a second. So you'll all know this, but Epic were announcing the latest version of Unreal 4.27 in August 2021, and they talked about a new feature called pixel streaming. Now, you all know about this, but for me, it was a new concept at the time, and for the obvious reason, it unlocked all those possibilities to us that weren't there before. So, being a small team of 3, we never had the funds or resources to produce applications for multiple devices, operating systems. It would have been too much to stay on top of and produce additional content. And then to be able to suddenly have an option where we could produce one application for everyone, and give them a consistent experience, that was truly revolutionary to me. I did have a lot of questions about it, how that looked like in the real world, and what were the loading times, what was their lag, how did it perform, what's the cost, all those kinds of questions. So knowing what I knew about pixel streaming then, this time I wanted to suggest a different approach with the configurator team. So that's where Unreal came in with our early success on Toolkit Mark 1. I wanted to give the configurator a go. So we went about and prototyped a bathroom to start with. So the one on the left, it's nothing fancy by any stretch of the imagination, but it worked, and we experimented with pixel streaming for the first time. So skipping ahead to what we have now, we've developed a fully functional configurator within Unreal. We're fully utilizing pixel streaming and all the later rendering features that Epic released, so such as Lumen and of course Nanite. It didn't happen overnight. I'd say between 12 and 16 months of learning and understanding with pixel streaming, working with our existing workload in parallel, and learning Unreal, which was still new for us coming from Max and V-Ray. So the road through pixel streaming providers was also interesting. It was cutting edge service at the time, so it came with a hefty price tag. It also didn't have a quick and easy way to iterate projects. So if you guys have been with pixel streaming from the start, you might have already experienced this, but you'd have to send a file over to the host provider. They'd upload it for you, you'd connect it up, they'd send you a URL back. This might take a day or so to do. They were based in the US as well, so you had US servers, there was latency issues, and generally there were longer loading times as well. So I think it was around 16 to 20 seconds for our app to load up at the time. So we ended up using 2 pixel streaming hosts before we ever heard of ARCWARE, and that's where pixel streaming became really easy for us. I know this sounds like a sales pitch, so apologies. But
please continue. We are perfectly fine with it. You're allowed to continue a little longer.
Thank you. So I know this is going to sound stitch, but for me, ARCWARE was the first. You stood out because you were modern, sleek customer console. So before that, everything looked like your nan's PC on Windows 95. It was horrible. ARCWARE felt fresh from the start. The pricing, which is obviously a big factor, was clear from the start. There was no hidden costs. It was made simple, and it came at a much economical than any of the competitors at the time. The servers, which was another big thing for me, were based in Europe. So we instantly got a speed improvement, and the hardware they used was better. So it allowed us in Unreal to be bolder with our aesthetic and spend less time having to squeeze optimization. Again, we're just a small team of 3, so we didn't have weeks and weeks to make sure everything ran really smoothly, which I know is cringe to a lot of Unreal users, but we're ArchViz guys, so we like to max out the polys as best as we can. Although these factors made it easy, it made it an easy choice for us to move to ARCWARE, not counting the brilliant team they have. Manalis and his team have always been available to help us out if and when we got stuck, and we got stuck plenty of times. I'm sure Manalis will be able to tell you. But we got to a point where we were really happy with the configurator. It was serving our customers and sales team in a way we hadn't originally planned, and with that newfound confidence using Unreal, utilizing pixel streaming, and having solid support from ARCWARE, we wanted to just do the same with our development projects. Do you want to answer any questions?
Oh yes, yes. Let's quickly. Yes, fantastic. Yeah. And then let's afterwards go directly to just Adam. So I would like to ask Peter's question, which is if you made the kitchen configurator using the variant manager, or if you developed a custom solution.
Yeah, so good question. And at the time, the variant manager wasn't actually available. So this was a completely custom output from our Unreal tech. Yeah, so it's quite funny. We almost finished the project entirely, and then Unreal announced this variant manager. I was like, oh, great. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? We had to do it when we thought the time was right.
Go for it. So yes, no, that means I've okay. So AK3D also asked a question. All 3 in a team. Do you come from 3D? Are you guys architects? And did you have a programmer and a programming experience? How do you deal with visual scripting / programming?
Yeah, so to start with, all of us came from 3D backgrounds. I myself have been working since I was 19 in an architectural studio, but as a 3D visualizer. The other 2 they had experience in outsourced companies, so very much producing ArchViz content. I don't believe they had architectural experience working with the architects. Although I'm not an architect myself, a lot of that design. It rubbed off on me in the right way. So yeah. Other than that, we didn't have a programmer, but we had this one guy, Jamie, who was brilliant with Unreal and was just eager to learn. We were all quite young back then, so we wouldn't mind staying late and putting things together and seeing what worked. So he worked really well as the visual scripting side. As the years have gone by, I've started to pick up a thing or 2, and but I wouldn't say I was in the position to build anything from scratch. Absolutely not.
Yes, please. Then actually I have a follow-up question that I think really fits our audience and a lot of our users, because you mentioned that you're leading a team, you're learning how to use the Unreal Engine, you work with consultants, you work with agencies, you have guys in-house, and I think for a lot of our users who are the agency, if you will, how can you kind of describe the differences for you working with your in-house team, working with an agency, working with consultants? Like, what are the differences in the collaboration? What do you look for in an agency, and what do you look for someone who specifically works for you in-house in your team?
That's a good question. I mean, it's certainly a unique experience for me, knowing all the technical side and then being in that position where you are organising multiple partners. I think it's quite a useful insight to have that technical aspect, because you know then how long things are going to take. You know what you're looking for. You can, although you might not be able to technically build the application, you can talk in terms where it's useful for the other technicians to so you can collaborate quite well. And I'll talk about this in a bit with our Unreal consultant that helped us put HomeFinder together. But we used our web developers to help with the UI side of things. We used Epic's Unreal partnership, and they actually recommended a really good company to help us with the UE scripting side. We had myself and my team for the 3D modeling, so we kind of knew everyone and all the expertise, and it was kind of just keeping them all together and communicating that kept it together, I guess. Don't know if that quite answered your question.
Well, it does actually answer the follow-up question by Peter, which is whether or not your front end is Unreal based or web based, because to me that sounds like it would be front end, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, and I'll go through it, and I think it's just next slide actually. But
perfect. Let's move to the next slide.
Yeah, so we gave Toolkit the mother of all upgrades. We put together a list of features with our sales and marketing team in combination, me and my team's input, and working closely with our web developers. So they're called pixel builders, who are also our website designers. So we knew what we wanted to build. We're really good at mocking things up. So we used UI designs and the visuals from my team to storyboard that user journey experience. So discussing how it would flow from one feature to the next. We wanted to use an uninterrupted camera the entire way through the journey. So from your bird's eye view to street to plot and into the home. So it felt dynamic and concise. Now, by this point, me and my team were more than proficient with using Unreal from an aesthetic side, but we didn't have the ability at the time to build an entire application blueprint. So that is, like I mentioned, where Epic introduced us to one of their partners. So we teamed up with Wiley & Co, the director there, Ossian, who is incredibly talented at Unreal Blueprint scripting. But also thinking ahead with how I wanted to implement features that were designed for me and my team. So he and I, we went to work. Os built the framework for what we now call HomeFinder, while I modeled a tiny case study development based on the new modeling protocols, naming conventions, and optimizations required to work with this new toolkit. So what you're seeing here is a completed prototype in action. We spent probably 7 to 8 months in total from modeling, programming, and building the front-end UI between pixel builders, myself, Wiley & Co. You'll notice it looks visually different from the style on Grace, Sublime, and Desire, our developments on our website that are live right now. I'll go into some more detail about that in just a moment. So you might also notice we are using front-facing UI from the web. So it's not built in Unreal like we did with the configurator. It was a big step for us and made things a little bit more complex, but it gave us so much more control and quality. So the first thing for me, the UI didn't degrade at all because it was no longer being streamed. So it kept nice pin sharp. It scaled much better with a used device, and we could create separate experiences depending on what device you were using. So we didn't try to cram a desktop experience on a mobile. The seamless of it was much better this way. So our web developers, pixel builders, since having designed and maintained our website, they could control how it flowed into Unreal uninterrupted. The UI side, I wanted to mention the artist features in Toolkit. So because not only was this application designed to service our sales team and customers, it was also designed to increase efficiencies internally. So with the production of a 3D development in the first place. So we produced tools utilizing data that used to be spreadsheets. Now they were pulled directly from our Salesforce portal, controlling the way in which the house types looked. So the materiality, the handing, all the things that made that plot unique. And interestingly, on that 3D data we created, we also uploaded it back to Salesforce. So all of a sudden, we had the ability to search and filter plot orientation. So you wanted a south-facing garden. We had that information, and it went back to Salesforce. We had the ability to search and filter orientation, garden size, external materials. Our front-facing web UI could pull this out and share it with our customers. So it made it a two-way flow of information. We used a system which propagated cameras, nodes, and lighting by house site. So we might have 500 homes on a development, but we only had to set up the core house type versions, and the rest would just update, which was super handy and sped things on. We used Datasmith recipes to quickly apply tags and other sorting methods when importing or updating models. And we built a utility widget for controlling all of the Salesforce download and upload options, so controlling the site or plots at once or individually at a time. We built in options to control the stage in which the development looked. So this is where I wanted to explain the visual difference in what you see to what you have now. So just real quickly, in residential developments, you have a fairly long timeline from purchasing land to planning application and approval to the actual work on site. So this leaves quite a long period of time from a marketing perspective. You want to create interest, but not release it all too soon, and for it to calm down and you run out of interesting content. So this is also the matter of information changing over the course of the application. You have planning, applications, committee review. This can change. So we wanted. So it was important for us to not show something that the customer will end up not getting.
Yeah.
We have no. Shall we just go to host and guest? Number 2.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So no, Adam, I really don't want to interrupt your flow. We don't have any comment. We have a comment, but we don't have a question. AK3D says that it all looks very slick, simple, and cool. So that is great. And as we have a small break in between anyway, I would like to ask you a question about what it looks like from Strata's perspective that you call all of this content. For me, that is very interesting as a marketeer and salesperson, that you call it content, whereas I think a lot of other companies look at it from a very different way. They look at it really as like this massive, black hole of costs to 3D visualize something, and then to, they have to pay for the streaming, all the, 5,000 they might spend in a year if they are super active and everything goes really, really well. And so for you, it just looks more like, hey, we need to have this stuff. We need to have everything from every angle at the highest quality, because that is what we stand for as a brand, and what we want people to experience, because it makes the buying experience more enjoyable. Is this something that you like? Do I experience this correctly or understand this correctly, or do you look at this from a different perspective?
That is a great question. So, I mean, back in the days of working for an architect studio, that was brilliant. We had amazing projects to work on, but everything was itemized. If you were working on a certain project, that was payable to the client had to pay for that. So it limited us on how much we could R&D and output different styles and play with different technology. Whereas at Strata Homes, it was such a refreshing experience for me personally. Whereas our only output is homes, right? And anything to achieve people wanting to buy one of our homes, that's what mattered. So we had generous marketing budgets at the time, and we were just able, as long as we went through the right channels and we showed what we wanted to do, and as long as it gained enough traction from our sales and marketing teams, they were like, yeah, go for it, let's see it, let's prototype it. And that's why we prototyped the configurator, and it was such a success. They were like, well, I had that as a to use to vote on to the HomeFinder, and we just want to show what the customer's getting, and so they don't move in and they look in the garden, there's a big giant retaining wall, and they're like, well, you didn't tell us that. And we're like, well, it was in the blueprints of the little document that you get on page 56 of the big PDF. And no one wants to talk like that to our customers. So if we can just give them as much honest information up front, there's less of an issue later on. And I think that's important, especially for our brand.
I think that also really shows, because I also know from experience, and it's not just you. It's it's also from the presentation that we have seen from Madis from Avar previously. Like, the engagement numbers are really impressive with these home configurators for like digital showrooms, as Madis then calls them, because he works on for products. Is that also something that your marketing team takes into account when you then, you create these prototypes, you then have the engagement, you have, 4 minutes as an average session? That definitely doesn't happen for a normal web shop or something. No one wants to spend 4 minutes trying to buy shoes, whereas, looking for a house, obviously different type of purchase, different budget, of course. Like these KPIs, is that something your marketing team takes into account when they say, sure, just spend another week on building A, B, and C?
It's a fine line, like they like to give us a bit of leeway, and I don't think they are constantly monitoring the stats. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are good, and I'll talk about them in a moment. But it's more about just giving our customers additional ways to access the information, and we'll have a mailing list, of interest of customers in the area when we're about to go live with a site. And we'll email out those links and let them know that it's gone live on our website, and then that's when the flurry of information can go out. So it's not, or you've got to achieve 1,000 views in a week, or we're not that stringent. No.
Yeah, that's perfect. But it's just important that the things that you build do actually resonate with the goals that they need to achieve, because they give you time or budget, however you want to call it, and that you can actually achieve their goals. That is something that I believe not every 3D visualization team actually manages to do. And I think that is partially a lack of understanding, partially a lack of technical knowledge, and also understanding the end user, right? Understanding the customer, if we were to use it in marketing terms, because what you do is you create an exceptional user experience, and then it doesn't matter which technology you use, but unless we're asking the question, which technology allows us to give us the best user experience. And I think that's very much the case that is happening here, where if you want to ask for more budget or time, you get it, because they also know that you deliver. And that's something that I think a lot of brands who are considering this might not expect, or a lot of agencies that want to offer this do not highlight enough, in my opinion, and from my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was an evolution like this. If we tried to do this 6 years ago, it just wouldn't work, right? Like the technology was just about coming about, and we hadn't had any programs where we could say, well, this just works. And there were other things that were working, even though it was lesser quality, and it just worked. So there is a part of it is timing, and I think we rode that wave, and it's worked out quite well so far.
And like you said, I think that you made a very good point at the beginning, which is it was also your journey, right? It was your journey that took a long time, where you started with, I want to do this because I know this is right, and now you get to say, like, hey, look, most recently we had all of these numbers, which means I make sure that you look fantastic when I build another prototype. And that's something that you wouldn't have done the very first time that you did that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have 2 questions from the audience. So Peter Smith says, if we're a UK-based company and we already have a house configurator, what is a rough ballpark for us to hire someone to create a web front end, and how long can we expect the company to take to convert our Unreal front end to a web front end?
So that's a good question. I wouldn't be able to give you exact figures, but I can tell you it was a bit of a journey with our web developers. I mean, Pixel builders are amazing to work with. They've designed our website. They have so for years, and that we are constantly evolving and changing that user experience. So when we said to them, we want to embed our configurator into the website, and at the time there wasn't any front end UI for the configurator, so it was relatively straightforward. You're just iframing it. So we didn't go straight into let's do front end UI, let's do pixel streaming and all the rest of it. So we had a bit of a warm up with that initial configurator, and then we just built on that relationship, and that's when, because they were also doing this design for a website, they were doing the designs for our UI. We were taking that UI in and utilizing it in our application. So that took, I'd say, probably about 2 months, 2 to 3 months. And that wasn't all the time. We were still developing our prototype of toolkit, so it's not like we had a deadline tomorrow or next week or anything like that. So I wouldn't say we were rushed off of our feet doing it. So it could probably be turned around quicker than that. It all depends how complex your application is. If you just
I also think that what Peter needs to understand here, and obviously there wasn't enough space in the question, so I'm not blaming Peter. But one of the things that I think is very important to highlight here is that they're two completely different skills, right? Because on the one hand, you do need to actually remove the things from the UI within the Unreal Engine. On the other hand, you need to have the front end skills to be able to do all of this, and then to make sure it all connects to the Unreal Engine.
To be honest, it's easier to make front end UI way faster than making some complex UI logic in Unreal.
That's
the reality.
That's also why I already told Peter that we always recommend to use front end.
You can prototype a bit in Unreal and stuff, and then bring everything to a proper front end. But it's even faster if you conceptualize, and prepare everything directly to front end, and then make the communication to Unreal.
This is back very frequently, and that's also why when AK3D wrote, "This is what I learned the hard way." This is very. It made me chuckle because this is exactly the conversation that we've had with him in a previous webinar. And something I really appreciate about the community. Please.
It's hard to let go of that control sometimes as well, especially if you are very much UE focused and you don't have those front end skills to want to then hand that over to a completely separate and at the mercy of them in a lot of ways. I mean, there is absolutely that communication required because, without sending the particular communications, they can't receive, can't send back. So you do have to develop those networks, those partners. But once you've got them, you can create some amazing things.
So, oh, sorry.
No.
Oh, because I want to move to the next question, and I think these two now really entwine very well, and I really love that Adam has such a unique perspective on this, because both Raphael and AK3D asked about how to approach companies to adopt this technology, having already talked about like how you started with I want to do this, and now it's hey, I need more budget or time because I want to help you increase your time on websites, conversion rates, whatever. So how would you currently approach a company to say, hey, I want to do these fantastic 3D visualizations using the Unreal Engine. I know you are a very traditional company, but this is why you should do this, and this is why you should hire me to make this for you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, without trying to put myself out of the job, I guess it would be useful to start off small. So if you are already producing visualization or some kind of service for your client, you go away and you do something on the side. You say, well, I've done this for you, but I've also been playing here and I've just created a little prototype. What do you think? I was thinking we could turn this into something more X, Y, and Z. And I think that's the best way to go in. If you go full in, here's £100,000 application or whatever it is, buy my products. People, it's cold calling. They don't like that.
Pitching in a proper way is the way to go, I guess.
And to suggest achievable goals, right? Because if you promise, everything, you promise the world, and within 4 weeks you show that there's a lot that goes wrong because it's unexpected, then it's going to be difficult to finish the project.
And we've got a unique viewpoint of our products, of our 3D models. We understand how Strata operates, and it's only working with the technical teams, the operational teams for years before I actually moved into the marketing team that we are able to get all this information in the right way. I think if you are going in at it cold and then just saying, hand us over all your data so we can turn this into 3D without understanding the processes involved, that there can be some really horrible conversions, if you will.
That's why a lot of people, before they start an agency or go freelance, they work in-house and then afterwards make the change, or they start working at an agency that already has plenty of customers, because you need to know your audience and know how they work, know how they tick, know what it is that you need to help them with and what they expect of you.
And the presented solution must be solid.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Yeah.
So I have another question by Peter, which is I always really like this question, which is, how do you stop the user from playing so long that essentially it would no longer be economically viable to have pixels?
Well, it's a good question, and there were some of my initial worries. Like you always want to set like the maximum window session to like half-hour or less, you know. And to be fair, even 30 minutes would be quite a long time. I don't know. You want to be the whole purpose of that of our app is to get our customers as quick as possible to their home, and I think it's great that you can experience lots of different homes and play around, walk around at the street level and all the rest of it. But I would say on average our users work on our apps for about 4 to 5 minutes maximum. We might have our experience managers, that's our sales team. They've got these enormous 90-inch touchscreen TVs that they have in our experience centers, and they have the same running, so they might have it running for longer because they're having conversations with customers whilst they're moving around. But I've not really seen a session go over 10 minutes, so I guess, yeah, it's
I think it's also just the worry for me is also like, it's understandable that you have that as a user, but for me it's a very unfounded worry, because if you know how anyone behaves on a website, you know that it is almost impossible to have someone on your website for 10 minutes unless you offer a video game. And 10 minutes on a website is extremely long. Imagine that you're just opening a website on your phone to show your buddy something that you made, something that you want to show this person. And the loading time, if it's 3 seconds, that seems to last forever. It's like playing. So I think that it is such an understandable worry, but it's something that is just so unrealistic because people are so quickly bored.
We can also maybe give some insights from the platform itself, across all the packages and the projects and everything. So yeah, Adam, I think also you're right. Like the maximum kind of one session, one user in one session, it would be maximum 20 to 15 minutes in some very rare cases.
Yeah.
It even in automotive, like we have Hyundai, Opel and stuff, you know, exploring the cars and what. They rarely exist 15-minute.
Yeah, and we build in is it the AFK type time?
Yeah.
30 seconds.
You could also put AFKs and stuff, but and really interaction and like engagement time, it's like 20 minutes is kind of the maximum in this case, to be honest.
I would find it difficult to find someone who's genuinely engaged for 20 minutes.
We have some cases of gaming.
Well, gaming I can understand.
Lately on promoting gaming and stuff, because then you have a level, you have like 40 minutes, half an hour or whatever to go through, but those are edge cases. In the mainstream, it's like 15 minutes maximum, like engagement time per instance, per user. Yeah.
So yes,
you have.
Yeah, I think it's time to continue.
We can continue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
to the presentation mode. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I was just talking about right at the end of the previous clip, we were showing the HomeFinder in a completely different style to what we have online now. So that's because it was built with a different stage in mind. So this is we designed in stages for our main stages internally that we refer to as concept to pre-application and to operational. So it's the same information we use to build everything on site, and each stage has a unique visual style which we build in. So house types can look fully rendered with the correct materials. They can also look more abstract and using sepia tone materials and glowing windows, that kind of thing. So with my architectural experience and knowledge, and with our CEO's love of architectural studios and the physical models they produce, we experimented with a visual style that represented that sort of rough around the edges but had something charming about it. And although you don't see this on our website at the moment, we will eventually make its way live. But I wanted you guys to see it because I think it's a lovely interpretation of interactive digital models combined with more of an analog material palette. So I wasn't sure whether to include this or not, and I appreciate we're running over it, but I wanted to say it, and before we continue, I wanted to acknowledge that we did have a bit of a delay between completing the prototype to releasing the HomeFinder developments that you see on our website, and that's because at the start of last year and the year before, like a lot of other businesses, especially developers in the UK, the housing market and the issues that we were experiencing. So we had high interest rates, they rocketed, and there was the issues still ongoing of the rising cost of living, and it drastically changed consumer confidence in buying a property. So what it meant for us as a business was that we had to reduce its running costs, and along with slowing down production, the business had to make some cuts across the board, and the marketing department, which housed a lot of talented people, and my team unfortunately was hit, and we went down from 4 just to myself, and that still stands as it is today. So it was incredibly hard for those guys, and for me, the loss of a brilliant team. So it left me with not much time and no resource to get out all the projects I had planned that year and some of this year. So I guess I just wanted to say that because it highlights how it can sometimes go. You want everything to be perfect, but there are obstacles along the way, whether that's technical, resource, funding, or personal.
No, I was just trying to figure out all things front-end UI, and I'm just linking people to our Discord, because I just want to also highlight that for anyone who has questions, especially the ones that are more personal, as in your personal projects, if you have serious problems, please contact a professional. But we have a Discord where anyone can ask all of their questions. Manolis will answer these questions, and that also pertains to front-end UI. Worst case scenario, we'll link you up with our front-end guy.
In terms of support, I guess Adam knows well how much we kind of engage and support our clients, people, whoever wants. So feel free to go and directly contact on Discord, or if you are core tenants, there are also SLAs. If something is critical, just go and make a ticket, guys, and we are there to help. So.
And outside of that, we have documentation. We have previous webinars that go into depth on a lot of different topics.
Yeah.
And then we have Discord. So if there's an issue at some point, and issues always come up, there is a 99% chance we will solve this for you, or with you, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
Well, Manolis's team has been brilliant. Every time we've needed support, it's been within a couple of days, dare I say a few hours, and
we are trying our best, because we know it's a cutting edge tech. It's kind of new. It's not yet established. That's why we try to really help people out on their questions or whatever. Of course, then the feedback is also very, very important, because in sometimes it even makes us improve something on the platform side.
That's also why I would like everyone to just reply to the emails that Kosha and Eski send you if you're an ARCWARE user, because the more feedback we receive from you, the more we know that we're doing the right thing, or we can fix something that we're not doing right. We really believe in a communicative way of improving our platform and supporting you guys, because your success means our success. So the more we hear back from you, the better.
Brilliant. So I was just going to actually show the demo now of the HomeFinder.
We do have some more questions.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, before you first of all, how long did it take to finish the project with how long did it take you to finish MyHomeFinder?
So as a project from the prototype all the way through to the end, I would say 8 to 9 months. So we were working back and forth with our Unreal consultant. We were working with the pixel streaming guys, sorry, not pixel streaming, pixel builders guys, and myself, just as a bit of a trio, and just going back and forth, seeing what worked, what didn't, going and iterating with our marketing team. So we were sharing a couple of features. What do they think of that? Is there anything you want to change? We were trying to keep it quite fluid and dynamic. So again, we weren't saying, right, this needed to be completed in 3 months. We were quite lucky, really, to be able to run a project like that.
Yeah, from what you've been saying, I think Strata really understands the complexities and the freedom you also kind of need, and the time. It shouldn't just be crunch time all the time. You should also be able to, get it wrong, learn from your mistakes, and come back twice as strong. But you can only come back twice as strong by making the mistake in the first place.
Yeah.
So
All right.
no, we have AK3D is AK3D questions. So then we have the question: Lumen and Nanite or LOD? Did you work with this?
So we experimented with Nanite and LOD. We tried both methods. In the end, settled with most of it being LODs with high density meshes like foliage. We kept that as Nanite. It was a really difficult balancing act, and this is quite recent actually, wasn't it, Malice? About that. We didn't want our initial program to take long to load, and that's the only issue with Nanite. There's a bit of an initial loading time, and then you get this brilliant performance. But likewise, if we had just purely LODs, we were getting issues, especially with foliage. And I mean, I'm not even talking about 5.7 and the Nanite stuff they've done with foliage. I'm sure that's incredible, but we really wanted to keep that initial load time down. So we've struck a really nice balance now. Depending on when you access it, you can get in between 6 and 8 seconds. So that's just amazing.
Nice one. Yeah, I played a bit lately. 5.7 you told. I converted some old projects which were full dense foliage to the voxel method, and it's another world. But yeah, it will take some time to at least convert what you have. But I guess you have a hybrid method, right? Buildings,
Yeah.
you go LODs and then foliage only Nanite. But it would also help. It will and even bring the quality a bit up on the far foliage.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, we because it's so easy to upload to ARCWARE and iterate versions, we can play with a later version of Unreal, see if it works, give it a go in a preview session, and just see what happens. That it's just so easy now to get it live and try.
I mean, Adam, you don't with direct flow, you don't even need to upload. The feature
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
you just directly test from your own, like from the engine build without even packaging. So that's also a nice thing, because mainly I'm using it lately, and the iteration phases on the development cycles are really faster than ever with this one, because you just test it on the fly. You can even cross test against.
We'll have to go through it again, because I remember you showing me how to do it, and I think
I guess you used. I think you used Tarek.
No,
Not yet. It's okay. Okay.
help me.
Then you have one more window of optimization on the development cycle.
Yeah.
That's okay. And this is the thing that you can use it whenever you are developing, and when you are done, you are done. You just don't use it. It's a monthly based. But okay. Yeah. So I'm going back now.
Yeah, it's time for the demo.
To the presentation.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, it wasn't a perfect journey for us, but we eventually got there. So 2 years after initial concept, design, prototype, we launched Grace in April this year, shortly after we launched Desire, and then Sublime was launched last month. So you can see this in our demo right now. The launches were an immediate success. So within a week of one of our sites launching, we were seeing double in sales per week, which is just incredible. In terms of engagement with the developments, we saw almost 24 hours of usage over a month per development. So that's an average of about 4 minutes individual watch time, which is 360 views a development per month. I mentioned earlier at the start of Pixel Streaming, we were experiencing 16 to 20 second load times. Now with ARCWARE, that's down to an average of 6 to 8 seconds, which is incredible to see how quickly this technology has improved from 21 to now, and will continue to improve, I'm sure, with the likes of Manalis and his team behind the wheel. So I'm now rolling these developments out as best as I can at the moment for another 2 developments, and that'll land in the second quarter of 26, and we'll continue to develop HomeFinder throughout. So little improvements along the way can go a long way. Just recently, Manalis, we attended one of your workshops for utilizing DLSS.
Yes.
We applied that within our application, and
it helped.
yeah, we got a lovely little boost instantly.
Nice.
We just rolled that out to 3 of our sites just within the space of a day. We could just,
Perfect.
you know, it's amazing how quickly you can do that, and they are really insightful. That those workshops. So please keep doing what you're doing, Manulis.
Yeah, we will try our best.
So yeah, the future for HomeFinder. I know we're going on a bit, so apologies. HomeFinder for us was version 1, and although there was previous iterations of Toolkit, nothing hit the spot quite like that latest release. But we know we're not finished. So even though resourcing and funding is still tight, we can at least plan on what we would like to do next when the market does pick up. So we've already started looking at what that might be. We didn't want to spend too much time on designing anything at this stage, so I just pulled some old assets, and we've been experimenting with green screening in Unreal, and I crudely added this to this scene, so apologies for the blend. It's not going to win any FX awards, but it kind of gets the point across. This is where the team feels that we can make additional strides forward. So with what we've done with the configurator in the past, we want to bring that into the future and combine it with HomeFinder. So we see that as the next natural step towards an all-in-one experience for our customers when choosing their next or first home. So as you can see here, the idea would be to switch preset interior designs with potentially a few other tools for the customer to really interrogate the internals of our homes, because right now they are basic, and we know that, but we just wanted to get version 1 out there. And whilst we're not creating games, we are inspired massively by them. I am personally. I mean, I'm turning 40 next year, but the finals, ARCWARE, which recently released by Embark, are massively inspiring to me. So they always give me ideas on what I might be able to implement next. So I love the idea of seasonal themed gameplay. So one day you might experience Halloween, Christmas themes at the appropriate time of year. Someday within HomeFinder, I think that would be pretty cool. You know, like you've got 8 or 9 holidays throughout the year that can just play in the background whilst you're looking for your perfect home. So we wanted to simplify the actions required for search, to filter and finding your perfect home, all within one application, stream straight to your device. And I think HomeFinder is starting to do this, and will continue to do this even better in the future.
All right.
And I wanted to finish up, giving a cheeky mention that we've also been shortlisted to the CMA.
Yeah. Let's go.
It's a shameless shout out, but it's a 2025 for best application of marketing technology. So it's incredible achievement, not only for Strata, but everyone that worked on this project and our partners will be over the moon. I am, and I've got my fingers crossed for the awards, which
Nice one.
early December next week. There is the next week. So yeah, I need to get my tree out tomorrow.
So let's see. I think you got this, mate. I think it will. You will take it. No.
I think, yeah, fingers crossed. It's a Wednesday afternoon in London, so that'll be interesting on the train back.
Yeah. Nice. So
we have. I just want to give you some compliments from Robin.
Yeah.
Robin Lankus says that HomeFinder looks really well made. AK3D gives a big shout out because congrats on the project. And he would like to know if you have Discord. I believe you are on our Discord channel as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Adam
is this is Reddit, Discord. There's so many.
Yes. Well, I also that's a perfect time to give a shout out to our subreddit. We have reddit.com/r/pixel streaming, where we post a lot of things. So if you're on Reddit, please do.
Guys, I can make a warm intro. I mean, AK, if you want to connect with Adam,
I think they want to.
It's
going to spam.
I think you have some ideas there, so feel free to. I will connect you with Adam, and you take it out from there. So
I think that's a great.
No worries.
Other than that, we don't have any questions right now from the audience. So I would like to ask you guys to come up with your questions for now, because Adam has finished his presentation. In the meantime, I'm going to quickly check which questions of mine you haven't answered yet. Yeah, I would like to get back to the scaling aspect, because and that really entwines really well with the content thing as well, because for you, scaling means not actually having more people in the same Unreal Engine application, but for you, it's if I understand things correctly, you need to create so much content. You need to be able to visualize so many different real estate projects that for you, you need to be able to reuse things. You need to have existing workflows. You need to have, all of these things to keep producing more and more. Like you need to have this, well-run assembly line essentially. So how does that look like on your at your company? Because I think that for our audience, it's very interesting to see that for them, it's just so exciting to pitch someone pixel streaming in the Unreal Engine, but they have no idea how that could really benefit that company, because they don't know what scaling, like how important the scaling aspect here is or could be for their potential clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
We've designed HomeFinder for that very reason, so that all of our assets are reusable. So I'm not sure who else has worked in the ArchViz sector or with residential companies, but we can have quite a large product line with multiple products. They're always being updated and upgraded, and new ones are coming out. So we reuse what we can, and we've designed it that way so we can just pull off a shelf once they've been made ready for a HomeFinder. And the initial time is that setup though. So like, that first site on Grace, even though it had like 6 house types, probably took me 3 months because we were trying to get those house types fully working in a certain way. But the next project only took 2 months because 3 out of those 6 I could reuse straight away. And then by the third site, I probably only had to convert 1 house type. Although my next development is a completely new product line, so that puts a little bit of a spanner in it, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to reuse those in the future as well. So it's all about scale. So whether it's a 50 plot development or a 250 plot development, we designed it to scale. We designed it to be optimized regardless. Like we really stress tested it, especially for those larger sites, because we knew they do come about. So that's where the LODs come in. Nanite worked really well with the foliage, and we were always hitting that 60 FPS on our workstations.
Fantastic. I have a new question from Peter Smith, which is, does the HomeFinder also spit out the cost for the customer, or is it merely the configurator itself?
So HomeFinder itself is plugged into Salesforce. So if our sales and marketing team have a price for that property, it will be visible in HomeFinder directly. That's pulled, like I say, from Salesforce, from our front end website. So that is all always constantly updated. From an interior perspective on HomeFinder, it's currently just a shell inside, if you will. It doesn't incorporate any kind of interior design tweaks right now, but what it could do in the future, especially because I was talking about the future of HomeFinder with those interior presets, we could absolutely mention, well, if you go for this version, it's going to be X amount of pounds for this house type. That'd be quite easy to work out, and I think we could absolutely do that.
I also think that's very interesting, because I've worked previously with, I want to call it a department store, and they also had an external branch for kitchens. And they really want to work together with local companies that actually do real estate development, because it's so difficult and costly to get get your customers for kitchens, because there's so much competition.
Customization.
That indeed, if you already have a configurator in your HomeFinder app, and then you collaborate with a party that could already show what a potential customer kitchen could look like.
IKEA,
Exactly. And then as other people are still writing their questions, I would like to ask you a question about quality here, which I think is very interesting, because you've really mentioned that you really dive deep into quality, and you work hard on things so that they look really, really well. And is that something that is a personal drive? Is it something that is a quality standard within Strata, or is it otherwise it wouldn't be accepted by the end user?
It's an interesting question, because quality can mean so many different things to different people. To me, I would always pick something that visually looked 70%, but gave me a really good example of what it is, than something that looked photorealistic but was extremely limited in functionality and what I could do. And I think this is why fly-throughs and static images is getting a bit of a hit right now, because they can look fantastic now. You know, they're absolutely, you can't tell the difference between something that's real and CGI, but it's completely uninteractable, and that's what customers are expecting. So for me, getting the accuracy is the quality. But yeah, that absolutely. I would never give something that just looked terrible. I'd still, it'd still have to have a couple of levels of polish, and I'd have to sit on it for a couple of days, come back to it later and see, well, does it? I'm still happy before releasing it, and then in each version of HomeFinder, even though we've called it version 1, there's been lots of mini versions where I found a new material a procedural material that makes the grass look better. The tarmac has wet patches or something, and then I would add those in as we go. So I'm always constantly trying to add realism, but at its heart, it's got to function.
So then the question is,
Yes.
do you build art or do you build a product?
Can't they be both? Can't you have both?
Hybrid.
I think that for people in the pixel streaming world, I think the drive to make art is so much bigger than to build a product. And I think that that is a very difficult situation, because in the end, we all work with someone footing the bill. And those people are usually waiting for a product. Whereas, you know, you built this because you think that there's so many opportunities and you want to, you know, take advantage of them, which a client might not be looking for in that same way.
It's got to work. If it doesn't work, like you say, you're not gonna. It's not gonna get funding. It's not gonna continue. You might get one out, but then someone's not gonna come back to you and ask you to do it again if it doesn't do its intended purpose. But it's got to look attractive. Absolutely, you've got to be wowed when you see this, and we get that so often with our experience managers, with our customers. They're like, I've just bought that plot, and because I was doing some testing on one of our experience centers, so I was on site, and customer came in, and we hadn't released HomeFinder for that site yet, but a customer was coming in to see his progress for his plot that he's already purchased, and then I was like, your plot so and so. Oh, just a second, and I popped it up on the screen. It was like, that's incredible. And you know, zooming in and going through the house, and it was just like, wow, I wish I had that like a couple of weeks ago, but not because he would have changed his mind, but it was so engaging for him.
I think this is a really nice way to essentially say that even though we work with the Unreal Engine because it's such a visually pleasing medium, we are still trying to help someone else achieve their goal, which you do with a product. And so it's that's very interesting, because Peter agrees with me here that indeed the client quickly wants to have a product as opposed to just something that only looks great. And the helping someone achieve their goal is, I think, something that can get lost sometimes when people are too excited about the Unreal Engine, because they're excited about the Unreal Engine, but not yet about helping the engine.
I think I mentioned it the other day that you know, I work with some guys that work with BIM, and they have these insanely heavy models, and so they walk around with their workstation to their client to play these on, and you're just thinking, well, I mean, unless you've got a really beefy laptop, even with an amazing GPU, majority of your Unreal apps aren't going to work very well with that on your laptop. But if you can just stream it, you don't know your URL. That's all you need, and that's just an amazing thing to say. Oh, just on your whilst you're just load this up on your web browser, and then instantly you've got the.
All right, then I can answer two questions that have been asked recently. So Robin asks if pixel streaming is more suited for public projects, or if it also works for clients who have stuff that's under NDA, or that you want to close them to a small closed audience. And indeed, my answer would be to both. There's so many options. You can hide you can only make it accessible to specific people. You can do it through the share ID. That's obviously unique to ARCWARE, but it works for both. The moment that you upload your Unreal Engine application to ARCWARE, it isn't that instantly thousands of people will actually be able to find it, right? I mean, just because you have a public...
No one will find it until you share it.
Exactly. And so this is the thing. It is up to you already from the very get-go actually decide who gets to see this, unless, of course, you publish this on a website that is public. Then I believe that we are out of questions for Adam today. So that means that I would really like to thank Adam for his patience and his presentation. I think Adam, absolute champ, very unique perspective on things. Love that you managed to really share your journey, the ups and downs. And thank you for being so candid with our audience. We will connect you with AK3D. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Hope to see you next time, and have a fantastic evening.
Adam, thank you, mate.
Thank you, Manalis. Thank you, Dirk.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.